we're on number 25, but either way, here we are with Dallas Collis. And Dallas is coming to us all the way from British Columbia in Canada. So Dallas, you have 4 books behind you. I would invite you to just tell our listeners about each of your books.
Well, I think it's good to have context behind things.
Go ahead.
My books came out of the end of a year of a collapsed life. In that year, I got very lucky on the first day by getting cancer.
Nobody would call that lucky, but tell us why.
And cancer led, of course, to treatment. I then lost my wife, my house, my business, my family, ended up alone, broken, alcoholic, and suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
And that began my new life. What a great place to begin from.
Right. You can only go uphill, right?
For me, I call it downhill because I don't have to work anymore. I was working to go somewhere that was a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped working. I stopped fighting my life. You see, my life is a story, like you are a story.
Mm-hmm.
And we attach to our story. And I call it the story mind, is what we live in. It's our experience, our history, everything we've been through and gone through that shapes us and informs us and identifies us who we are. That, for me, was a terrible struggle against trauma and abuse and believing I wasn't good enough, smart enough, able, a failure, and going through 50 years of struggle with that emotional baggage that led to alcoholism and all these ways that we try and keep pain away. We medicate ourselves. Some people do it with exercise. Some people do it with food and eat every time they're upset. Some people do it with pornography. There's a million ways you can become an addict to your pain relief.
Right.
And of course, this culminated in the year of collapse. When the body and mind are overloaded, something breaks. Some people go into depression. Some people get cancer. Some people get heart disease, obesity, diabetes. All of these things, I believe, are from an overload of physical and mental pressure, tension, stress, years of carrying emotional baggage that we don't deal with. So my body collapsed. I went through all of those places. And when I came out, I had to rebuild a life and rebuild it from scratch, from as low as you can go.
Right.
From a deep, dark place that few people can really understand. It's hard to articulate when you're in such a dark place that nothing feels. You don't feel anything anymore. You are numb to your life and the world around you.
And how did you pull yourself out of such a dark place? Because a lot of times when you're in that place, you don't even, I think you just said, you don't even have anything to grab onto. So what changed?
Well, 2 things in particular. The first one was a friend who I was complaining to about how weak and broken I was. And he said, wait a minute, let me get this straight. In the middle of a pandemic, you get cancer, lose your wife, your house, your business, your family. You're an alcoholic. You end up here and you're not dead. You must be strong.
That's looking on the bright side.
Yeah, but that was like a light, like,
yeah,
what? I could be strong? I never thought of it that way. So that made me say, is there a reason for this, that I'm still here? Was I supposed to go through this? And those sort of mystical thoughts start entering your mind and going, what is this world about? What am I being put through here?
And why?
And why? Yeah, the great questions of our lives are always attached to the why.
Right. And I think you hit on a powerful point. You started to think maybe there's a purpose, and purpose is so central to living a good life and feeling like you deserve to be here.
Right. And the second thing that happened, which was probably the biggest thing, and it's behind everything I do now, I was listening to a podcast where a man talking about consciousness made a statement. He said, "Show me yesterday."
Mm-hmm.
And I instantly in my mind thought, where is yesterday? I live in yesterday. My whole life is based on what's happened to me, my history. So what is this yesterday? It never occurred to me about a tangible what is yesterday. I know
Uh-huh.
what today is. I know what today is. I'm here with you. I can see
Right.
you. I can hear you. I can eat food. I can touch things. I know I'm alive. I'm right here. But I don't know what yesterday is. And I realized it's just a memory. It's
Mm-hmm.
just something I believe. If my whole story, my story mind, is a creation of memory, and I have to believe in it. Well, what if I didn't believe in it? What if it was wrong? What if
Mm-hmm.
I got the wrong story? What if I'm in the wrong movie? How do I know it's the truth?
Right.
These questions started tearing it apart. And pretty soon
And
I realized it isn't real. It
mhm.
is an imagined state, and I don't have to believe in it anymore. That changed everything.
Right.
Because every worry, every problem, every anxiety, every pain and suffering from our past, all our emotional baggage is a memory. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a reality. It doesn't exist. My trauma was 50 years ago. It's an event. It's
Mm-hmm.
50 years old. It doesn't exist today. So why would I be carrying it around?
Right.
That made no sense to me.
Yeah. How would you go about telling somebody how to make this happen in their own mind? Because as I listen to you, I think in a lot of ways, a lot of people are going to say that's easier said than done. If I don't know, well, whatever traumatic event, a horrible car crash, or somebody bullying you for years, how how do you tell them to let go of that and just say doesn't matter anymore when their
Yeah,
brain is saying it does matter?
yeah. In one sense, you're right. It's always easier just to say it than it is to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But in another sense, everything in life, a big moment when you change. For instance, 20 odd years, and I know we shouldn't be in this marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And my partner knows we shouldn't be in this marriage. But we are entangled in the marriage. We own a house together, cars together. We have kids together. We have a business together. How can you possibly just walk away? And
Mm-hmm.
many people feel they have to stay because it's so impossible to leave.
Right.
But when you do separate and you leave, you instantly turn around, look at it, and go, it was that easy? What was I thinking?
Mm-hmm.
I think everything in life is easy. We create an air, an environment, a mentality that everything is complex and difficult and so hard to deal with. We believe that. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean it is. It turns out whenever you make the decision, it's this simple moment and this clarity goes, that's all I had to do? How can it be?
I've been there, and I know that when I've had to face some very big, very tough decisions that I thought this is impossible. How can I
Everyone,
do what I know I need to do? And yet it worked.
everyone has experienced that.
Yep.
Oh, it was that easy? That feeling. Everyone has experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's more complex than trauma. I think we carry it. Look, memories, 80% of your life, you can't remember right now. There's no way you can remember. You don't know
Right.
what you ate for breakfast on Tuesday, September 16th, 2005. Do you, Laura?
Definitely not,
Why? Why not? It
because it's
happened.
not important.
You didn't replay it over and over in your head, so you carried
Right.
the baggage of that memory.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole game. We
Yep.
take things from our life and we decide, we give it meaning and real emotional impact. And so we replay it like a movie, sitting in our theater over and over and over until it becomes us and we become it.
I think those are very wise words.
Fully attached. Some people attached to their car, to their house, to their wife or husband. Some people attach to things outside of their life. Trauma is a thing outside of your life. It's an event that takes place, whether it's that car crash or physical abuse. It's an event then. That's all it is. It has no meaning until you give it meaning, until you attach your emotional well-being or illness to it. And then you replay it and you keep it close to you, you nurture it, you take care of it.
And to your mind, does this difference in mindset explain why some people, for instance, I probably know several people like this, but I'm thinking of one in particular who had just the most awful childhood, just really terrible. And yet she's just the most gracious, happiest person I know. Well, one of them, I know a few, but she's among them. And in a way, I'm not amazed. That's just who she is. But then I look at other people who suffered far less worse. And again, I'm thinking of someone in particular who has done exactly what you said, tells and retells and retells and retells the story to everyone who will listen, to the point that a counselor once said, you know, how long ago did this happen? And the answer was like 30 years ago or something. And the counselor said, listening to you, I would have thought that it happened yesterday or a few hours ago, because you're exactly right, because the story is told over and over. And you're right. You have to just stop telling the story.
That's step one. You have to, because the story is often told in thoughts that just arrive in your mind. You don't ask for it. You didn't ask for the thought. It just comes up and you allow it to start to play, and it spirals you down negatively.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because years ago when I was trying to put distance between myself and some things, and people would say, oh, you know, just let go of the anger. It's like, well, I'm trying, but the anger keeps pouncing on me like a tiger.
Exactly.
And how do you teach people to rip that tiger off their back and throw it across the room?
Yeah, it's to learn to pay attention to your thoughts, not your thinking. They're two different things. Thoughts arrive in your mind without you asking. Thinking is self-directed. You're trying to do something. If you can start to pay attention to thoughts when they arise. I thought I was stupid, no good, a dummy, not worth it. And so let's say I'm having a cup of coffee and the mug slips out of my hand, hits the floor and smashes. What goes in my head? What's the voice goes, you dummy, you idiot, that's just like you. Those are thoughts, that voice in your head.
Right.
But now I will catch that voice and go, that's hilarious. What a silly thing to say. How silly is that? Why would I be saying that? And what happens is the thought dissolves because it cannot live if you don't attach to it and take ownership of the thought.
Right.
So the practice is catching that thought, that voice in your head.
And being aware that you're doing it. Because I think a lot of people are so used to thinking like that, that they don't even really consciously go, wait a second, what am I saying?
That's the sleepwalker of the story mind. You're not awake. You're just letting it run through you. And it runs over you because of that.
Right.
You know, you mentioned how some people are traumatized and some aren't. Maybe from the same event. And why? Just 2 weeks ago, I'm watching the news from the LA fires. In Palisades. And on the street and background is just all burned down, like you've all seen the pictures. Is a man standing on one side of the reporter in his probably 70 area, and a woman about 40 standing on the other side. Turns out they're daughter and father, and they only live a block apart. Both lost their homes, burned to the ground. The daughter is in tears and talking about how everything is lost. Her whole life was there, all her memories. She's just sobbing. And the father's got a bit of a smirk on his face. And the reporter notices this and turns to him and says, "You seem almost glib and happy. Well, what's going on?" And he said, "It's just stuff."
Yep. And I'm alive.
There you go.
Yep.
See, one person is traumatized by the event because she was attached to it, right? She had already started building the attached memory of her whole life had been lost. And while the other person, it was just a thing. He wasn't attached.
Right.
It just was what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the moments we have to understand in our life, because we all do these things.
Right.
We disassociate and unattach to things every day. And we attach to things and make them important every day. But they are choices. We can control those things.
Yep. And I think that's a really powerful message. And sometimes all it takes is for someone to just hear you say those words, for, as you did, to go, "Oh, you're right. I can catch my thinking." And for me, when I was kind of going through some of this, it was also the choice what you focus on. I heard a very interesting comment not too long ago that life is a pair of railroad tracks. There's always good and there's always bad. And you can focus on whichever one you want to.
Absolutely.
And, and again, how you frame it, like, "Oh my gosh, as you know, because you were there, we had to reschedule this meeting because I got sick with a horrible sinus infection last week. I went out at about the same time to find one of my sheep just keeled over on her side. Thought I was going to lose her. I've been out there nursing her for hours a day some days. Had to learn to give a shot so that she can get her thiamine. At the same time, then one of my breeder rabbits dropped dead for no reason. And there was a part of me that wanted to go, "This is unfair. I should be in bed sleeping. I'm sick." But instead, it's like, you know what? I'm really grateful that I'm strong and that I can rise to the occasion. And it's how you decide to look at it. And am I a victim, or am I a strong survivor and I can handle what life throws at me?
Yeah, and I think what the real message there is, you accepted your life in that moment.
Yep.
You didn't try to fight it. I wake up in the morning and it's raining. Oh, my day is ruined.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Because we try not to accept our life all the time.
Well, we want it to be perfect.
Yeah, and I say we're in love with wanting and desire. We want to be healthier. We want to be happier. We want something we want to buy. We desire something different than what we have. Yep. And what that says is, I don't accept myself or my life the way it is. So, of course, your mind is always going to be in some frame of distress, because your mind is supposed to be you. It's supposed to be accepting. It's supposed to be loving.
Right.
That's your natural state.
I'm curious, do you find that some people are sort of, they become addicted to an emotion? They're so used to being angry, they don't, how do they get out of that?
You have to look at the benefit they're getting. People will say, I'm stressed and angry and upset. What do you mean benefit? I don't want to live like this. And I would say, you do. You are choosing that because it's doing something for you. You may not consciously see it, but almost every time when I talk to someone, it will go to something about what they believe about themselves. If I believe I'm not good enough, I'm going to find in the world reasons why I'm not good enough, and I'll be angry or stressed or anxious about all those reasons. So I am actually using them to say, this is me. The benefit is it's proving that I am me.
And is that what would be behind anger, that somebody who is not happy with themselves?
Everything is connected to your desired outcome.
Okay.
You know, we have a whole world today that wants to live in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow's going to be better. I'm going to set goals. I'm going to create meaning and purpose, and I'm going to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this is completely wrong. It doesn't work. We've had 100 years of personal development, 250,000 books published, millions of videos and workshops and seminars on goal setting and achieving and grinding and working. 95% of people don't reach their goals. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
statistic 100 years ago as it is today. So why hasn't it worked? Because we're placing on top of ourselves a change.
Mm-hmm.
We can't change who we are by placing something on it. Our
So,
story decides who we are, not what we try to do on top of it.
right. So how do your books differ?
Well, the whole point of the gift is the present.
Mm-hmm.
Is understand the gift is today. I took my life that was collapsing and I collapsed it in time. I had this big world, all these worries, all these concerns, these terrible things happening. I mean, how would you not go crazy trying to deal with it all? You know, one of the disasters I went through can destroy a person.
Right.
I went through 6 of them in 1 year. I think I got lucky. If I hadn't gone
Mm-hmm.
through them all together, it would have been worse to go through one at a time.
Would have been more dragged out, that's for sure.
Yeah. So the first thing I did was realize if a day is 24 hours long and I sleep 8 hours, I have 16 hours of being awake and doing what I need to do in a day.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I choose to do? If I choose to be healthier, I need to eat a little better. Just today, just this one day. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go exercise. I'll go for a walk. Can I do a 30-minute walk in this day? Yeah, I can do that.
Right.
So I took everything into these little baby steps and bites and slowly added another small bite each day until I was eating well every day. I was going
Mm-hmm.
for a walk every day. These things began to release the stress and tension as I got healthier. For me, I was putting weight back on.
Really?
Because
Well, you'd been through chemo. So
yeah, radiation and everything. I had lost so much weight. I was a
Mhm.
skeleton. So I had to really begin at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I go again, I'm lucky in that it forced me. I could only take a baby step.
Right.
I couldn't take a big bite if I wanted to. I didn't have the energy.
Yeah.
Then
That's
I
a
had to
great way
do
of looking
things.
at it.
You know, I had patterns and behaviors I had to examine. When I woke up in the morning, I would make coffee and go sit in my chair.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a chair? Lots of people have their chair.
I
Right?
have a few all over the house.
Well, for me, I decided the chair was a magnet because
Okay.
once I sat down, it might be 2 hours later and I'd go, oh, I'd wake up. Oh, I need to get after it.
Yep.
So I actually took my chair and put it in the garden shed.
Okay.
So when I got up in the morning and walked into the room, here was a hole in the room where my chair was. And that's the trigger to say, you don't sit down. You need to
Mhm.
stay on your feet and get to work. Go for that walk.
Yep.
I put a sticky note on my TV screen. It says, get off your ass.
Yep.
Because it knows I'm staring at the screen and I shouldn't be.
I'm kind of laughing because I was just saying to my husband yesterday, I had been out all day taking care of the rabbits, taking care of the sheep, taking care of this sick one, letting the dog play all over me. He's a puppy, but he's probably over 100 pounds. So when he plays on me, his paws on my head like this, and he's knocking me all around. And in fact, I've got a massive bruise from him playing. It like covers half my arm. So sometimes I have to remind him he's a little too big to play with me like that. But I came in and I was just so exhausted. I thought, I'm just going to sit down just for 5 minutes. And sure enough, as you said, and I said to my husband, the problem with sitting down is it is so hard to get back up. Sometimes it's easier just to keep going. So I can really appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah. And then the next step was, if I'm sitting in that seat, to this day, I still get the, I need something to eat.
Yep.
But I need something to eat is always going to be Doritos, or I'll get some ice cream or some sort of snack. So I had to put a sticky note on my fridge, and it says, what's going into your mouth?
Yep.
The idea was just wake me up at that moment and go, oh yeah, pay attention. Don't eat like you're sleepwalking and just eating anything.
Right.
Be awake, be present. And so I have sticky notes all over the house to help me be present, wake up. They were in my way to keep me constantly conscious. Because we tend to live in habits and routines that are very subconscious. We don't even think about them.
Well, and I think that's a lot of it. Yeah, habit, just habit.
Yeah. You drive your car home at the end of the day, and it's been a tough day, let's say a tiring day. You walk into the house, you slap your keys down on the counter, and the sound wakes you up, and you go, I don't even remember driving home.
Yep.
Like, you can do it in a subconscious state. We live so much of our life there.
Right.
And we're not really awake. And so we wonder why things go wrong. Well, I've got lousy habits, and I've been doing them for years.
Yep.
If you're 50, you've practiced being you for 50 years. How are you going to be a different you already tomorrow? It's not possible. You've got to look at those 50 years and realize the habits you've been formed, the ones you've been practicing, the routine behaviors, and start looking at them and understanding what you're doing.
And I think one of your books is called something about steps, Step by Step, the yellow book. What is that one called? And that's about
the step system.
The step system. And that's about taking things in small steps instead of just saying, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and change my whole life.
Absolutely.
It's just one thing.
This future thinking tends to be that. It's a big dream, a big picture, big goals. You know, I'm going to get this house. I'm going to get this new career. I'm going to start a business. They're all big.
Right.
And we wonder why we don't get there, because nobody can take the bite big enough.
Right.
And that we have to bring it to now, not tomorrow. I don't reach my goal tomorrow. I reach it by the work I do right now.
Yep. Everything is a little bit.
If I want to walk an hour a day in the forest, I might have to walk for 5 minutes today. And then say, great, I walked for 5 minutes. And tomorrow walk for 6 minutes. It doesn't matter. It's tiny little steps. It's just repetitive. Repeat your behavior in the right direction, and you end up somewhere different. If you repeat your behavior in the wrong direction, you stay where you've always been.
Or you backslide and get worse.
Or backslide.
So I did want to ask you a question about nutrition. I was looking at your Facebook page, which has lots of great memes and photographs about health. You have a really neat one of the outline of two men. And one man is, obviously muscular, and his entire body is made up of steak and vegetables. And the other man is, pretty big, and his body is filled with cans of Coke and junk food and things like that. But you did make a comment somewhere on your Facebook page that good health, good eating is eating less and eating less often, I think you said. Now, what jumped out at me about that is I've actually been in pretty good shape all my life, and I'm one of those who during COVID, I ended up gaining 30 pounds, which, well, for me, it had everything to do with the fact that I taught music lessons, and all of a sudden I had to teach them by Zoom. And Zoom, Google Meets, whatever system, they don't pick up the sound of instruments very well. And I think the internet was so overloaded with everybody all of a sudden on, that was probably part of the problem. Yeah. But I developed severe throat problems from trying to talk online, 4 or 5 hours a day.
Right.
And I had to keep working because I had to pay for the house. So I ended up drinking Long Island iced teas because both the alcohol and how cold they are was what. So we sat and watched TV and drank Long Island iced teas strictly so that I could work the next day, because I couldn't talk to my husband. There were times I couldn't even whisper. anyway, that is to say, for the first time in my life, I ended up really having to look at, how do you lose the weight now? How do you eat? And there is so much conflicting advice. Some people are saying eat multiple small meals. Some people are saying go keto. Some people are saying strictly carnivore. Others are saying intermittent fasting, only vegetarian. I mean, these ideas all conflict with each other. How did you sort through and come to your conclusion? All this conflicting advice.
Experimenting on myself.
Okay.
That's the short answer.
Mm-hmm.
The long answer is, you spent that time consuming a lot of sugar. Those
Yep.
Long Island iced teas are sugar-filled monsters.
They did enable me to work the next day, but
Absolutely.
yeah, it's long-term damage.
It's almost a medication you were taking to keep going.
Oh, very, very much for my throat, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was cold medicine, nothing like that. Those things
Yeah.
weren't touching it. What's that throat spray? That didn't touch it.
Right.
And as I said, but anyway, yes. So
yeah, so one of the understandings is eat real food. I don't prescribe to a diet.
mhm,
Like there's no name to it. It's number one, eat real food. Don't eat constant prepackaged, over-produced, this processed foods from the store. It's just basically garbage. It's not good for you.
mhm,
So it's simple. Eat real food. Fruits, vegetables, wild meats if you can. Not factory farm food, as little as possible.
right.
Cut the sugar out. Cut all the extra fats out.
I am curious, do you think that for some people, say eating one meal a day works, whereas for somebody else, their body is not going to respond and they need the multiple small meals?
Absolutely.
Okay. So
that's why I say you have to be able to experiment with yourself.
Right.
You have to find what makes you feel good. And the feeling has to be there when you finish eating.
Right.
This is what you have to get your mind to your body connection, is how do I feel when I'm done eating? It's the old, Thanksgiving dinner, and everybody afterwards is lying on the couch holding their bellies with that top button pop going, oh, why do you do that? Well, that's your body and mind saying, don't do this to me.
Right. I kind of lucked out in a way. I completely lost my sweet tooth. I never want to see cake or ice cream again because I have 9 kids. Yeah. And so we were having 11 birthday parties a year. And I finally just reached a point, and this is maybe 10 or more years ago. It has been so long since I've had cake. Okay, I'll sometimes have a piece of cake, but it's like, okay, I have to eat a piece of cake. I'll take a couple bites. Haven't had ice cream probably in a couple years. And, so that's one way of getting over your sweet tooth.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So the other thing is eat slower. Just eat slower and you will find a benefit. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was eat less often.
Yep.
I was often eating just out of an emotional trigger, not because I'm actually hungry.
And I
had to put that sticker right in front of me that said, you're not really hungry. It made me question, am I really hungry? No, I'm not really.
Right. And I think that's one thing intermittent fasting does. Even if a person doesn't continue it, when you decide, okay, just for this week, I'm eating one meal a day. It's amazing when I did that, how quickly I started to realize I'm not eating because I'm hungry. I'm eating to break up the day and take a break from work.
Absolutely.
I'm eating to put off doing something else. You really do realize when
most overeating is mood altering. Mm-hmm. It changes your mood.
Yep. The sort of comfort eating.
That relates back to emotional baggage that you want a mood change all the time.
Interesting.
Constantly change the channel on the TV. Keep it moving. Can't sit still. These things all lead to poor dietary habits.
Right. Now,
so again, this conscious, being awake, being aware of what you're doing.
You have some things on your page too about Big Pharma, the fact that they're making an awful lot of money off us being sick. Are you kind of going more the route of holistic healing, herbal medicine, things like that? Or what would your recommendation be to people?
Yeah, that's what it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recommend people. I just say what I'm doing.
Okay.
I think we have a problem that there's so many diets, so many thoughts about medicine. I'm on cancer sites, and there is an overwhelming desire for magic pills. You know, this herb from Africa, from a special bush, cures cancer. And
Mm-hmm.
people are paying money to buy this. Well, of course it doesn't. If it did, it would be all over the news. We have this mentality. We want to find an easy fix. And this leads us to these positions that aren't healthy, even when they are herbs and things we think are going to do this job. This is a mental position, not an actual physical one. So for me, it's very simple. Eat good food and exercise. Keep your body moving.
Yep.
Get on your feet and do stuff. Be active.
Yeah.
Everything is wrapped up in that.
Now, I think one of your books is called Fit 5 Life, or you have a website called Fit 5 Life?
Now, the book is Live Long with a Fit 5 Life.
Okay, and what is Fit 5 Life about?
Well, that was my next step out of coming back, was getting healthy. So the Fit 5 are physical fitness, food fitness, mental fitness, social fitness, and sleep fitness. That if you could take care of your exercise, your diet, your mental state, your social life, and your sleep, if you got those 5 things figured out, you're going to be healthy. Yep. How you figure them out is figuring it out for you. Not what someone says you should do, but what works for you. But you have to do the work. This is not slap it on and everything works. It's not a go buy a bottle of pills and you've fixed it. It is actual effort.
Right. I am curious, you know, as you say repeatedly, what works for you. Years ago, I came across this idea that depending on our blood type, certain blood types really need meat, certain blood types do very well with the vegetarian diet. Is that something that you find value in or think is correct? No,
I think it's theoretical. There's no science that says that's true. And it's unfortunate. There's so much pseudoscience in the world today.
That's true.
Every day, something that you thought was good for you yesterday is suddenly bad for you today. It's constant.
Yeah.
And that's why I always go back to, you know inside yourself when you're eating potato chips and drinking Coca-Cola that you probably shouldn't be doing it this much.
Right.
You always know. There's always a voice telling you the direction you should be going. I know I should be doing something more active. I know I should be eating better. I know I should call my mother and say, I love you. All these things.
Did you hear that, boys?
all these things are a part of a healthy life, and we know them instinctually. It's in us. We are born with this. We know what to do. We cover it up. We live in a world of advertising and constant barrage of information that clouds our judgment every day and pushes this convenience and comfort, security that makes us fragile. Life is not equal. It's not easy. You're supposed to fall down and get a bloody nose.
Yep.
That's how you live. But we're building a world where people think everything can be insured and safe and comfortable. And this is making us weak and fragile and out of shape.
I agree.
Every health scale is getting worse and worse all over the world.
No, I've often said our lives are so easy that people are going out there looking for problems. And it's almost like we're built to fight, to work hard. And when life gets too easy, we have to start making up our own problems. Yeah. And I think that's a huge issue today.
And we make them up mentally. And that's why you see a mental health crisis. Because this pressure, this clouded mess that's going on around us gets turned in on ourselves, and we go, I can't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And we begin to believe we can't handle it. We get worse and worse and worse down the slippery slope.
Yep. And it goes back to thoughts, the
Yes.
times in my life when I've started to go, I can't handle this, I can't take it, I do stop and I say, you know what, yes, you can. And all of a sudden, everything changes. It's amazing how quickly it works.
I work with a lot of elderly people. And it's only been in the last probably 6 months that I've started to see a commonality to a sudden deterioration and aging. And
what was that?
And with almost every person, it was their recognition that they're getting older.
Mm-hmm.
They begin in their head. You go to get out of your chair and you go, oh, my back. And it used to be, oh, well, it's just my back. But all of a sudden, they start to attach their age to it and say, yep, you're getting old.
Yep.
The brain starts to repeat, you're getting old. It's tiring. Their pain. All these things start rolling. And I watch people about 65 to 70 years of age suddenly turn downhill really quickly. And it's all of them are beginning to say to themselves, if my time is coming to an end. They're preaching to themselves this decline, and it speeds up the decline.
Right. And I think you'll see that in many fields, I've seen it on a lot of websites of faith, faith websites where they keep saying there is power in the tongue. Do not say anything that you don't want to be true. I see it in psychology. I see it everywhere. And people really need to remember that. And, I think I'm a fairly positive person, but I still have to catch myself every once in a while and go, don't say that.
This is what always brings me back to this story mind.
Mm-hmm.
We repeat it over and over. We believe it's true. We do it with religion, with books, information, all sorts of things. If we attach and believe, it becomes our truth.
Right. Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. For many things, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are truths we believe that hurt us.
Exactly. And
we hold on to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem, that we have to find and break apart these pieces of life that do support us and do not support us.
Yep. Can you hold up each of your books for the audience?
Okay. That was the first book, Cancer Combat. This was the second one. This is the step system. The third book was Live Long with a Fit 5 Life.
Mm-hmm.
And the latest book is The Gift is the Present.
And if you had cancer in 2020, you've written all of these in about 4 years.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you have another one coming?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
Well, it's basically about this story, mind.
Okay.
It's all about where we are mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And how we manufacture that position ourselves.
And hopefully how to get out of it, right?
Yeah, we are responsible for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
100%. It's realizing you accept your past. It was what it was, but it's not anymore.
And it doesn't have to define you.
Right. And you accept today where you are. And learn to love where you are, not where you're going to be.
That's good. Yes.
You've got to have it now for it to be anything.
Yeah. And where can people find you online?
If you've got my name, you've got me. These days, you can't hide.
Is there only one Dallas Collis in the world?
Oh, maybe.
Maybe.
I haven't found another one. But DallasCollis@gmail.com. It's just an email address is all you need.
Easy.
I talk to anyone,
And you're on Facebook, so people can find links to your books there. They can go to Amazon,
It's on Amazon, yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Any last words of advice before we wrap up?
Yeah. I'm really pushing this idea right now. Don't believe in yourself. We have a whole world that tells you to believe in yourself. But if the self you believe in doesn't believe in you, then who are you believing in?
Good question.
You know, if your self says, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not capable, and you're going to believe in that, you have the problem. So don't believe in that self. Believe in this one right here, right now, today, not the one you imagine you.
Wonderful. Thank you for being on the program. Cheers.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.